Ah, beautiful. Hi, I'm Pete, and welcome to Just a Few Acres Farm. Today is solar eclipse day. We're supposed to get a 99% eclipse at around 3:30 this afternoon. Even though it's still morning, I gotta get ready. There. Of course, we have to have a special meal for the eclipse. Here you go, chickens. Oh, let's see here. This Super C's been asleep all winter. Check the oil. Yep. Antifreeze? Check. Well, we'll see what happens. Fuel's run dry. That's not what I meant, though, by fuel ran dry. What I meant is that I ran the carburetor dry, shut off the fuel and let her run out. Yep, I can see the fuel running through the bowl. She's charging. Oil pressure is good. I'll pull her right around here and give her a good washing. There's a whole pile of burdocks in here. See? Yesterday afternoon I went down this fence line, trimmed out all the sumac and wild grapevines. So that's what we're loading up. On this side of the garden I also trimmed these dogwoods, that trumpet vine, and the lilacs over there, which are starting to leaf out a little bit. Let's load, we got it all. Right, ladies? Grass is greening up, but it's not growing too much yet. Looking for the right place where the whole load will pull off.
I know, there's always that one spot.
I used to have a turnaround here, but it looks like it's growed up a little bit. I think I can fit through there. Huh. Yeah, I can fit.
Look at all the cows up there.
They definitely would like to go out. Well, this fence line's cleaned up anyway. This is our garden. We've been gardening for 30 years, more in the first 20 than in the last 10. About 10 years ago, I built this fenced enclosure for our garden. The fences are made from black locust and then 2x4 welded wire mesh that I hand buried a foot into the ground. That was fun. And the enclosure is 70 feet this way and 60 feet in this direction. I made a nice gate for it here, which you may recognize from the cover of the book that I wrote. Back in the days when I wrote that book, this garden was beautiful. But now, well, it suffers from neglect. It's grown up. We kept a big asparagus bed here and over here with about 40 or 50 crowns in it. And this area here over by the heifer's pen was all elderberry bushes. I used to make elderberry wine, and then later on we sold elderberries at the farmer's market. In the northeast corner here we have 3 ornamental pear trees. I planted one for each of our kids, and they were little, and the kids were little. Now they're big. We're going to plant part of this garden this year. Gardening is like farming. You start kind of small and see how it works out, and then you can get larger. About all we've grown for the last 2 years is tomatoes and beans and some herbs. Used to be this whole garden was tilled up and planted, and I'd come up with a few methods for keeping it easy maintenance, not a lot of weeding, which is always the worst part of keeping a vegetable garden. Rhubarb's already starting to sprout. Do you want to hold these, Hill?
Yeah.
For growing tomatoes and pole beans and cucumbers, we like to use these, again, just 2x4 welded wire mesh fences on T-posts to train them up. Look at all these sumacs.
I'm in a forest.
They spread like weeds. They are weeds sometimes. Soil's still loose. These gates have flat rocks laid out from them a couple feet, buried under grass. Keep the woodchucks from digging through. And of course the sumac grew right between 2 of the rocks. You know, that worked pretty darn good. Soil's still loose, so that helps. Yeah.
Off-label use for manure forks.
Yeah. Hilarie made homemade moon pies for the solar eclipse. At least that's what she told me. When I was a little kid, I was always trying to have my own garden, and my grandfather was a good gardener. He kept a big garden where our driveway is now, and he grew the best Brussels sprouts, which aren't the easiest to grow. They're very nutrient hungry. His secret was pig manure. Anyway, he kept a garden that wasn't like a moonscape. It had lots of weeds in it, but he grew good stuff. And I always wanted to grow pumpkins when I was little. I remember 4 or 5 years old, I'd get the seeds that came as a prize in a cereal box. And they had like a foam block or something. You'd put the seeds in there and all kinds of different varieties. I'd always grow them. And then I would plant them in the edge of his garden. And pumpkins were my favorite. I wanted to grow the giant pumpkins, the prize-winning pumpkins. Turned out it wasn't the right variety, but I didn't know that. I was just a little kid. And I tried all kinds of tricks to make the pumpkins bigger. I'd plant them in there, and then I would cut off a stem and dip it in a bowl of milk because I'd read that that could make big pumpkins, take off all the blossoms but one. I wound up messing with them so much that usually I killed the plants before the pumpkins were ready. One year Grandpa grew a lot of sweet corn, I remember, in the garden. It was surrounded, the whole thing. And of course I had my usual luck with pumpkins, and my gardening season was done early. Well, at the end of the season he said, come here, let's go in the garden. And we went through I remember going through the sweet corn, and there hidden in the middle, he'd grown a patch of pumpkins, and they were ready to be picked at that point. Beautiful pumpkins. It's just something I'll never forget. They were for me. You know, that was pretty tiring. Even though I had a tractor to help me out, I had to do a lot of handwork too. This is the soil. I've spent a long time amending this and picking lots and lots of rocks. We certainly have plenty of them. I'm going to let it sit and let these roots and things dry out, and then I'll start going over it with a rototiller when this stuff dries out. The sun's probably going to be right over there at eclipse time, and it's awful cloudy. I don't know. We got about 2 hours till it starts. I built these raised beds originally for growing greens and herbs and radishes, kind of our daily garden that we'll pull out of a lot. But it was converted to growing tomatoes and beans a couple of years ago. It's going to go back to greens. We're going to get these 2 beds turned over, and I think that's about all our old bodies will take for today. This is probably the most dominant weed in our garden, cat's paw, spreads by runners. Pretty shallow rooted though. We just want to knock the weeds off of it, pull them out, loosen up and aerate the soil. That way it'll warm up quicker and we can plant greens pretty soon. That's for those really ready to plant. Just let the soil warm a little bit. Those weeds are going over onto the compost pile to cook. Got to take this wagon down to the woods and put the tractor away. The eclipse has begun. You're going to find better footage than what I can provide all over the internet. This is my best. Somebody told me to view the eclipse with a colander. I tried it. All it did was strain my eyes. Now there's nothing, just clouds, although it looks like the sun's about a third occluded, covered. Yeah. Chickens They don't care. They just say, it's a pretty nice day. Cattle, they don't mind. They just keep eating. It's cooling off and the wind's starting to pick up. 1.5 hours to go, but I can't see anything. It's cloudy. Well, I can't wait any longer. It's getting to the danger zone, clouds or no clouds. Howdy, cows. Why are you looking at me funny? I'm just taking precautions is all. You know, you can never be too careful. You're still looking at me funny, aren't you? I've performed the necessary calculations and determined that the gamma rays from the eclipse could fry my brain. See, when the sun is normal, not blocked by the moon, the beta rays from the sun's surface temper the gamma rays from the sun's corona, and they don't hurt us. But when it's just the corona and the surface is blocked, gamma rays become very dangerous, hence the protection. It's true. I read it on the internet. Hillary, you better get inside. You're not protected.
Uh-oh, I'm in trouble. I have cat protection.
Oh, I thought your brain was already fried.
That could be too.
Getting darker. 10 minutes to go. Hi, Titus. What do you think of the eclipse? He's not impressed. The cattle are hanging like it's any other day. The chickens aren't roosting. No strange behavior from the animals. But the spring peepers are making their nighttime kind of racket. Although we can hear them all day long at this time of year pretty much. I think it's safe to take this off now, and I can say I survived the eclipse with no cranial brain damage. I'll have to keep an eye on Hillary though. She was unprotected. We're having burgers. All my kids, my 3 kids, came home for the eclipse, so that's what they wanted. I tried to think of a clever name for burgers on the eclipse. Eclipse burgers. I don't know. I couldn't think of anything. Maybe you have an idea. It's raining. The hens all went in. I time cook burgers 7 to 7.5 minutes per side for a medium rare burger. What's she doing out? Must be she wants some dinner. My fire's a little hot today, so I'm pulling these off a bit early. Hey, don't go that way. These are so easy to make. It's just, I put a little Montreal steak seasoning on them. And they're delicious. They're one of the best meals, I think. And everybody's happy having burgers. I'm not really disappointed not being able to see the eclipse. I've seen a couple before. I was more excited to get into the garden and start working in there. That's our day. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.